Alright, so this is going to be something interesting about this series. Of course, this is going to be a review about Kamen Rider Geats and why it's very good to begin with. It's probably one of the best Kamen Rider seasons I ever enjoyed since Build, and it actually tells something because consider the fact that we have one of the worst uh, se- seasons, aka Saber. Then we have 01, which the mirror was kind of bad, and then revised with which how bad was at the end, but I still enjoy Revice. But Gates is pretty different, even though it's only 16 episodes. I still have able to enjoy the season even more, which says something about the show. And my bro, and now let's talk about the first episode. The first episode was about the introduction of every single element of the show and how it wants to be. And actually, I like how the Jamatos were came. Okay, Jamatos were not interesting as villains, but at first, but then once you continue, you see how different they are. You see how much twisted they are, which it says a lot about how the team is. We have introductions with Kewa being uh, a, a freelancer a free man who wants to find a job, but he has the sentiment of world peace, whichever doesn't accept him, which is his sister who actually helps his brother. Then we have Neon who wants to escape from her parents, but of course with his streaming, but of course it was about the past and everything. Then we have introduction with the three Kamen Riders. Like Commander Shiro, of course, died. Then of course we have Ace, who is very cocky and sure of himself, and Buffa being the rival of Geats. And of course we you said you learn about more about him. Then there's episode 2 where everything starts to be clear that the game it's still a game. Keiwa and Neon were accepted, and there's more about Keiwa as a character, and see how much scared and how much tricky he was about Geeks at that moment. Then of course there was Gimpen, the one who interviewed Keiwa, but of course Gimpen died, and I'm really sorry for Gimpen at that point because he had the son and everything and that, and he literally just died at that moment. You see how much? And then there's episode 3 and 4, which of course is about Neon at that moment. But of course, episode 2 was more about. Episode 1 was just introduction. Episode 2 was just more about the game where everyone gets the buckles and fight the Jamatos. But it was sad. Episode 3 and 4 is more about the story, character driven episodes, where it's more about Neon and how much the life was sucked about. Her mother treated her like shit, slapping her, and this is actually real. It's really manipulative. You might say, oh, she tried to be more nice to mother or tried to protect her. But you can see by shot of the dolls that Neon's mother had and how much the fact that she holds her. It just shows that her mother doesn't even care about Neon at all, and which is why Neon wants true love, and you can see that in later episodes what true love might mean more than just want to be married or have a boyfriend or anything. I think the true love might be complex than that. Then of course it's episode 5 and 6, and then there's about episode about aka Azuma gave Commander Buffa, which is actually pretty interesting how his friend was dead by Buffa's friend um, Toro Kima? No, Kima. It was Buffa's friend. at the night who died. Yeah, and basically his friend was bullied by two other riders, and of course Azuma promised to which is why it has that hatred of Geats and not hatred of Geats, but basically rivalry with Geats, rivalry with Geats. Then of course Azuma is reckless as usual, wanted to the power to get. I mean, it's not the best power wish, but at least it's something that he wants to achieve. Then there comes episode 7 and 8, which is was about Keiwa and that and how wants to be ninja and how much he wants to know what happened to his parents. And Yamato's he wants to sacrifice something that no one did. And that's truly a way how Keiwa became a hero, a Kamen Rider hero. And he earned that. Then of course with the buckles being sentient for some reason, not some reason, the buckets being sentient, which of course we don't know about. And I love how Keiwa get ready for the Plant Yamato, which is what's actually pretty cool. Then of course Keiwa sacrificed himself about it, and that's pretty much it, which I pretty love. Then of course is um, episode 9, which of course was about the debut of the Monster Race buckle. I mean, the Boost buckle was basically sentient when Fire with Kiwa because of the luck that he had. Then was Zombie, which of course we still learn later on that has zero effect. Then we have Magnum, which is actually Geats item that we've seen a lot. Then of course Nago's B form and Monster. That was there for the monster. They had to go to an egg to hatch it, which each character has a way to raise the egg. Where how Azuma tried to resist even though he was injured. That will come later on, of course. Then of course Ge- oh then of course Ace wins. I moment you can see how much powerful Ace becomes every time he chooses to do. Then of course we have episode 10, which is of course the story shifted away. Then Ace had wishes. The first wish was to not working out. The second wish was to be in the DGP, never die. The third wish was him wanted to be a superstar of stars. And then the fourth wish was that DGP the staff, that DGP to be his family, which of course Tsumori didn't like that. Then of course another wish that Ace did, which of course wanted to become a staff member of the GP. Which of course the wish it's about Ace want to find his smile. Even though we know much about Ace, we still have a glimpse about him. Yes, he's selfish, he's a dick most of the time. He's basically that, but at least he does have a good him. For example, in episode 2, when he literally saved Ginpen's son. On episode 3 and 4, when Geats was the moral helping Neon. Same with Keiwa. Episode 5 and 6, when he helps Papa to regain confidence and actually talks with Mary about how dick he was and basically do cheating necessary to win. I mean, episode 4 5 was basically more about the pan and how much he wants to end humanity because of the basketball, which is kind of very stupid, but at least you can understand that anyone, any single person can wish for anything no matter what the cost of it. And then episode 7 and 8, which kind of learned that, of course, was about the plant Yamato, who literally killed a majority of people at that time, which was pretty interesting. Yeah, of course, we got me. Now, of course, episode 2 was the 10. Of course, was disappointed that later another Kamen Rider who was has a wishes as Neon, but way more specific, died, which is kind of bad. Episode 2 and 3, no, episode 11, 12 was basically just that. The Yamato labyrinth, yeah. Now, of course, we can episode 10. We can see it was shifting with with Azuma. Azuma feels more different. He wants it to become to help others, and then you can see how different Neon in Keiwa on that moment, and how much they literally lost their desires, which kind of says about the game itself, which is about the desires and why. Episode 11 was basically the kicker who started. We see the more about Yamatos, how we're brilliant, how much they and their language. Even though we see the Yamato riders at that moment, then of course Girori being generous and give them, which is episode 12, which of course we have the best moment with Geats, which of course the the slot and of course everything. Ah yes, and episode 11 was introduction which Punk Jack was. That Punk Jack, I think he was in episode 5 and 6 was introduced. Then we don't know about him. Then we of course we got episode 10, which of course we has Hallelujah Win, which is we later on he's basically very wants to be a musician on that. Then we have episode 11, we learn about Labyrinth, of course 12, which of course Wayne cheats about it. Of course, was third was what he stole. And of course, episode 12 was about the FIFA slot, which was amazing. The slot, but I didn't like how they literally they have a power up, the power up, a very good, just to give a because of the Tycoon campaign, which I didn't like. Ah yeah, episode. Then of course we can have episode 13 and 14, which of course was about the writers want the writer was told by a girl, but that the girl turns out to become a Yamato, right? A Yamato who can get illusions by spraying spores. Then of course they have to defeat the back of they obtain. Then of course Girori then gets impatient and wants to get rid of Ace for any center moment, which is actually pretty interesting to see. Consider the fact that Ace gets the Comanche back by a sponsor, and we learn about sponsors later on. And then episode 14 happened, and of course Ace gets eliminated in a competition on that because of Kirori. We see that the that Win was basically controlled by Girori, and we got episode 15. We see that he was using as bomb, but then of course you can see how much bad he got. I didn't say much about the other guys like Kirani and Buffa. They just do what they do the best. But what the most focus was how Girori manipulated the game at that time and how much he got away with it. Then of course episode 15 was basically Ace coming back, and we thought that Azuma died at that moment, and I was sad about seeing then. I guess that it was that. But of course we know Yua Takahashi, and he revived most of it, such as in X8 when Laser was dead, in 01 when Jin was dead but then came back. Same with Buffa. He came back to life because of the effects of the zombie race buckle by using too much. I found that in episode 16 on that. Which of course episode 15 was basically Ace saving his life, remembering, and he did that a lot. Even though Ace was dead down, he still came back because he wish of wanting to become right until he did. But of course, episode 16 was Girori's um, demise. Even though Bangjack we seen him explode, he still came back. Then we came back to Rider versus Rider, which of course was forbidden. Of course, there wasn't the rules of DGP, and Girori literally broke so many rules. Even the most rule that the rule that game master can manipulate the game in any shape or way, which says a lot about the DGP itself because they have these strict rules that they respect. They're basically lawful evil in that case. Lawful evil are those characters. Girori will basically be neutral evil because he will not respect the rules. Like he'll basically do any rules just to get off the race because he knew that the Yamatos be fed out because they need to feed it the most of the time. Because if the character wins, because the motivation is that Girori was trying to do what he best, but he got bested and wanted to feed Yamatos, and we learned that the Yamatos get fed by the dead corpses of the players, which is kind of messed up. At that point, we find out that Azuma is actually alive because thanks to the zombie, the most uses of zombie race buckle. So yeah, that's kind of the point of Geats. The character wise, I love every single character. Girori might not be the most developed villain of the series because he was mostly a decoy for what he was to come. I love Ace a lot. Ace is probably one of the writers very cocky. He's an asshole, but he actually is not the bad person. I love Kira so much because as a we people say that the Buffa was that Azuma was basically the secondary rider, but it was obviously in the conference that Kira is, and Kira always makes the secondary rider. Not only clash well with Ace's ideology, but not just because he's willing to save the world, because he wants the world peace at the moment, but he wants to revive the dead players. Then we have Neon, which of course we see that Neon is just overall a person. We not much to say about Neon because we have need to allow the character to run. But you can later on we seen that the family was shady. How about the father was the sponsor of DGP and she used father just to get rid of Girori. It was also thanks to Keiwa in that moment, even though he got the powerful Girori. He basically that speech we say that every wish matters no matter how it is. It actually tells about how the desire is more about the people that they defeat Giroi because the game was not fair. Because I would be pissed too if the game was not fair for everyone. And of course, Azuma, I love Azuma a lot. He's one of my favorite characters in the show, and he says a lot. All the four of them, the four main characters, are actually likable, even though by the jerks and assholes most of the time. They are still have likable traits. They can like Azuma, for example. Even though he's basically a dick and mostly just a prideful and very reckless person, but at the end of the day, he does that. He's fair with most people. He cares about people, and most of all, he basically doesn't like bullies and people that basically treat people unfair. And when Asma does something, he will always respect that and he will not go to allow for anyone shady. Then we have Haruya Weed. Oh my god. Wayne was basically entertaining, a very funny character. Yes, he's a joke character, but when as you learn about him, he wanted to become a musician, and most of all, he wants to become a musician because um, he didn't know how to play, of course, and become and because of father become the staff member of the DGP, and that's more about. I know he might got explosion, maybe he got because you don't see him get flowers. Shiroi, on the other hand, was basically cool. Him become a firefighter, and of course he got shafted, eliminated. But of course I'm going to see him by Kira's wish. Kingpin, as I said before, he was a father who wants to, right? And we can see him marry a shady as gambler who literally wants nothing but money in that moment. The pan, a kid who literally wanted to destroy it all just because he wants to go in basket. Not much to say. Kalo was an interesting character. He was a old man who only wanted to be young, and actually wants to protect the young. Yes, he was shafted, but of course at least he got some. Letter was kind of wasted character in my opinion. Yes, she's not the best character, but she wants to get married. Anything. At least she was aware to be in contact with Neon's characteristic. The Yamatos are the Yamatos. Girorin. Girorin was a great villain. Not basically. He wants to basically plot device villain just so he can become just so he can wanted to get rid of Ace because the Yamato riders wanted to be fed most of the time. Um, depends on some members more actually. Of course, we have two characters that we're not going to talk about them because what I'm gonna talk about Kiroi is that he's a cocky. He's just he plays two roles as being the manager and the game master. As the income game master is basically very just him wanting to get rid of Ace because uh, the rules says that the Jamatos need to be fed and that's pretty much he didn't do much, but at least he was an entertaining villain for only 2 episodes, at least to say this. Summoning was great, even though as a navigator as Izu clone, aka Izu slash Poppy clone, but at least Sumori has her own characteristics. She cares about the games. She wants. I mean, she's not the artist also has as DGP because the DGP itself is the real villain here. Nimari, who literally is literally the sponsor of Ace, and basically the one who literally get. We know not much about him. Same with Samas. We don't know much about these characters yet, so I'm not going to talk about them. The Kurama family, who were dicks. Ben and John, who literally were best guardians for Neon, even though he became Kamen Riders. We wish to see him what. Ah, oh sorry, that's the revise. And Yamato's are basically the villains, but of course we. And of course we have Archimede. Archimede the gardener. He's basically the most mysterious of all characters. He still said it goes. Yes, he works for the DGP itself because we know that. We know that Design Grand Prix is basically. We learned that later that the Design Grand Prix is an entertainment facility and explains a lot. Archimedes is basically a very interesting, mysterious character who wants to grow the and has against the DGP. For now, what I say about DGP itself is that DGP is like no, is that Camera Geats is that what I say is that the prediction that I have is that the DGP is going to become like Squid Games when it comes to this, how the game was run out, and how much the DGP as a whole is just incredible. It's how much complex it is, and how even though it's just a game, it still feels like every single character in it, and every single makes the DGP as interesting as it is, and how written these characters were. It's a pick. Big Fiction if you. It's probably the best camera that we've seen since built, and I love it a lot. So yeah, that's pretty much my review of Comrade Geats. For now, I say, for now it's a 10 out of 10. But of course, we're going to wait till the mysteries were. I revolve. I hope that this not going to be shit on. I hope it's not going to get bad. I hope. So yeah, that was pretty much my review of Comrade Geats. Did you enjoy the series? Did you not? Let me go comment section below. Comments to see which. As always, my name is Dennis Vision, and we see you next time. Bye.